This is the Seven Figure Agency Podcast. Discover the strategies and techniques to grow a highly successful and profitable digital marketing agency with your host, Josh Nelson.
What's up, digital marketing agency owners? On today's video, I'm going to talk about how to track your client churn rates and really walk through why that's important and why that's something you need to be looking at on a very consistent basis. So if you want to grow your agency, you want to retain your clients longer, you want to generate better long-term outcomes for your business, you're going to want to watch this video. So when it comes to growing your agency, I'm a big believer in this phrase: what gets measured always improves. And this is something that applies to your life. It applies to your fitness, it applies to your finances, it applies to anything. If you start to measure on a consistent basis something, that means you're focusing on it. And where you focus, energy is going to flow, and where you've got consistent energy, results start to follow. Right? So it's super important. A lot of times as you grow and scale your agency, whether you're at 6 figures, 7 figures, or multiple 7 figures, typically we focus on what we want most, which is we want more clients, we want more recurring revenue, and so we focus on those metrics. How many clients did we land? How much monthly recurring revenue? Is that number trending in a positive direction? When you track that, your number starts to go up. Now, at a certain point in your agency, if you're not tracking at the same time your churn rate, or the inverse of that, your retention rate, you can continue to land clients, but you're losing clients sometimes as fast or faster than you're gaining them. And so it's really important to have a metric in place where you're consistently tracking the churn so that you can improve your retention. You can reduce that churn rate. And so I want to walk you through a very simple formula. If you haven't already got this formula, this is going to be super useful for you. You can track retention or you can track churn. I tend to say the positive version of churn is a negative thing, retention is a positive thing. So the positive portion of churn is retention. What's our retention rate? How many clients are we retaining? But it's easier to calculate your churn. And so the formula for tracking churn is how many clients did we lose, divided by how many clients did we have at the start, and multiply that by 10, and that's your churn rate. So in this scenario, if you had 100 clients at the start and you lost 5, you'd take 5, divide that by 100, and that would tell you what your churn rate was for that particular period. And you can do this on a monthly basis, you can do this on a quarterly basis, you can do this on an annual basis. But it's a simple formula. What I would recommend is that you don't manually track this within your agency. Really what I recommend is that you put this into what we call a sales retention tracking sheet, and that way you're constantly tracking how many clients did we land this month, what was the goal, how many clients did we lose this month, what was the goal, what's our retention rate, and what's our churn rate. And so really your retention rate is 100 minus what your churn rate was. So if your churn rate was 4% for the month, then your retention rate was 96%. And I've got a great sheet. If you type your sales retention tracking sheet in the comments, we will grab this sheet and send it off to you. And everybody in the 7-figure agency, myself included, use this to track where are we headed? How many clients are we going to land this year? How does that break down by month? How does that break down by quarter? And then we plot. Here's how many clients we won. Here's how many clients we lost. Here's what our churn rate is. And it's very easy to track. Again, what you track improves. What you measure gets done. Some benchmarks you want to shoot for, because sometimes if you haven't been tracking and all of a sudden you start to track, you're like, I don't know if this is good or if this is bad or if we're way off track here. Some things you want to shoot for. I believe solid retention, or inverse to that, solid churn that you want to shoot for is no more than a 3% churn per month. Really, no matter how good you are, at a certain level when you get 50, 100, 150 clients, no matter how good you are, there's going to be churn, right? It is a fallacy, and I think something that I struggled with in my agency for a long time was when we would lose 5 or 6 clients in a month, I'd be like, man, we must be doing something wrong. Like we must be not doing a good job for the clients. We must not know how to do this correctly. Well, the reality is businesses get sold, businesses go in different directions. 100% churn is not real, and so just let's accept if you can get to 97% or higher, lose no more than 3% per month, you're doing pretty good. Now, greater than 95% is still pretty solid. And I know a lot of agencies that are growing extremely effectively and they're only churning 5%, right? Which means they have a 95% monthly retention. I think if you're at 95%, you're pretty solid. Once you fall below that, well, meaning your churn starts to go to 6, 7, 8%, 6% or higher, that's a red flag. It's like, something's not performing. It could be the expectations you're setting on the sales process. It could be the results you're delivering with your service. It could be your account managers aren't following up and following through. It could be a variety of things, but you should look at that and say, hey, our churn is greater than 6%. There's a red flag here. There's work to be done, right? Now, if your churn is retention is less than 90%, which means you've got more than a 10% monthly churn, that's a big problem. Like, I think at that point, you need to put the brakes on sales. You need to go figure out, like, what is it that we're selling our clients that we're not retaining at least 90% monthly, or that we're churning greater than 10%. So hopefully this is helpful. In the comments here, let me know if you've got questions on these KPIs. What I found is once I realized 95% or higher is great. 97% to 98% is like an ambitious goal that you want to shoot for within your organization, especially at scale. So, this is a little bit different with 10 clients than it is with 100 clients. But once I knew these numbers, I could communicate that back to the team. I could confidently keep my foot on the gas as we continue to grow the business because our ratios are intact. But again, if you have any questions on that, let me know. Now, as you start to track churn and you start to track retention rates, there's very specific things you can implement to reduce churn and to improve your retention. And we outline this in the client retention formula. I've actually got a great book called the Client Retention Handbook. If you haven't checked it out, it's on Amazon. You can also grab it on our website at sevenfigureagency.com. But it boils down to world-class onboarding and how you come out of the gates, effective ongoing communication and reporting, and then client success management. Really, how do you build your account management team? How do you track the KPIs so that you can continue to grow and scale without going out of whack with your retention rates? And so if you want to link to any of those resources, type retention here in the comments, and we'll point you in the right direction to get those resources. Or you can go to sevenfigureagency.com/retention-workbook. sevenfigureagency.com/retention-workbook. There, I've got a checklist of the key things you want to put in place to improve your client retention. So hopefully this has been helpful. If you got some good insights here on how to better track your churn rate, your retention rate, hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe for future videos like this. We're talking every week about how to land clients, how to deliver world-class results, how to retain those clients at the highest level possible, and ultimately how to scale the business so that you can make more money, you can have more freedom, you can have a big impact where you're helping your clients, you're helping your team, and you're growing your business. So that's it for today. Let's track the retention, let's track the churn, and let's continue to improve our retention over time. Talk to you soon.